So this is something that's a little different probably from what you're used to seeing us doing. This is what we call Hot Rodding Saturdays. This is where we're wrenching on stuff that is not customer cars, it's our own personal projects. So with that said, I have a 1967 Econoline here that we're going to trick out, and we're going to try like hell to get this thing ready for Viva Las Vegas in 2015, which is quite honestly only about 7 months away, 8 months away. Anyway, which means we've got a lot of work. I have some custom wheels that we're getting made for this. They're not going to be grossly gigantic or anything like that, but they're going to be proportional to this car. And we're going to do a lot of modifications to the Econoline to kind of give it that really custom but sleeper look to it. It's actually kind of a difficult thing to pull off on certain vehicles. In this case, not so much. Anyhow, though this car is relatively straight and it is relatively sound, it has some of the most unusual rust I think I've ever seen. The chassis in itself is very clean, where it's most common to rust. However, the roof on this is highly compromised. Now we have some big plans for the roof that we're going to try like heck to pull off before we go to paint on this. But in the meantime, I have to start making roof parts. The roof is rusting everywhere where the support rails are at. So, what I've done, I made a new replacement piece. Here's the old piece. That's the exterior. That's the interior. You see how it rusts in a very specific way, and that is because that is where it rests on the rail. The rail itself is also very much in a disrepair state that I will have to do something about. But I cannot do anything about it until I take care of this first, because I don't want to influence the roof with the rail. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense somewhere. But here's the hook. So I'm going to replace this panel on the roof. Roof repair is some of the most difficult things to pull off welding because it's easy to distort so much straight metal. The longer a piece of metal is with less reinforcement or bends in it for memory, the easier it is to distort it. This, once I cut it out with a plasma cutter, I use a plasma cutter because it's very fast and it's very quick heat that doesn't expand and distort the metal. Whereas if I use a cut-off wheel or like that, that heat would have built up on each side of the metal and it would have deformed quite a bit. This way I'm able to cut it with a minimal amount of distortion. Anyhow, here's the replacement piece I made, and I'm going to put it in. Like I said, roof repairs can be some of the most difficult repairs to do. You're lucky if you only have to make one repair. Unfortunately, I have 3 more of these to make. I have my copper backing. I have a bit of a gap on the leading edge as well. Roof repairs, as I said before, are very difficult to pull off. So, if you're a novice welder, you may want to try this. You have to pick and choose where you start from, and it takes a little bit of pre-thought, because what you have to do is you have to make sure you have that first weld established, and that it's hard enough that you can manipulate the metal later and move it if you need to. Now I left the original railing system in place because it needs to be just another reference point that I have to make sure that I have the roof line following like it should. If I remove that, I wouldn't really know whether my roof is caving in on it or not. Having that rail still there gives me an indication that I'm still following the correct horizontal line. At this point, I'm moving my copper back heat sink underneath. Right now, I already know my roof is dropped in a little bit from the cut. You can't see it from your angle. Right now the metal is sitting at an angle. This is flipped up. It's not because this is wrong. It's because this is pulled down and the rail's right here which pulls this up. This is a good thing. It lets me know how far off I am and how much I have to work with. This is a copper back. These are really, really essential for your tri-weld like this. It gives a place for the welding material to hit and spread without distorting the metal. It's good heat sink too to a degree. Okay, actually took quite a bit of time to actually fabricate and weld in, because what you have to do when you're dealing with something that has a compound curve both ways, plus style lines, and a minimal amount of reinforcements, you have to be patient, you have to spread your weld around and close in the gaps slowly. It takes a long time. You also need to file back those welds and potentially weld over them again just to get the hardening process and the depth of the weld in place. That's one of only 4 of those big holes that are up there, but that was the worst one. The other 3 are much smaller and should take a whole lot less effort. They don't go into the style line, or I should say the hardening line of the roof, so they should be a little bit easier to deal with. This is a vehicle that has a whole lot of personal importance to me, and so I'm looking forward to finishing this and replicating something from my family's past. This is a big deal to me. I'm looking forward to making it, and I think that you'll probably enjoy the end results of what it's going to look like. It's going to be fun. So it's not even quite, well, it's just really early on a Saturday morning. And you might think this is a little bit unusual, but the approach is that I'm going to paint these wheels. I have a R design offset, that is. 15.6 in the front, both with an appropriate offset. And I have 15.8 in the rear with its appropriate offset. It's going to be very close to the outer lip. I don't want to modify the body to custom the wheels, but that's where we're going with it. And you'll see what all that means, soon. But anyway, here's kind of a clue of where we're going with the color on this car. I'm painting the wheels first as to keep the theme in line. One thing is certain is I can always change the color of the wheels if I wanted to, but typically when I paint wheels on a car, that theme sticks with me. And that's what we're doing here. This is a Chrysler color. This is off the modern Jeeps. It's called Rescue Green. It's got a lot of pearl in it. It's got a lot of metallic in it. It's going to look great. I'm probably going to throw a little extra pearl in this to kind of kick these off. And that's why I'm here today on a really early in the morning Saturday. Is to scuff these up and get them ready to go. I'm going to paint these today, and that way my theme for this van is locked in. Now the color you see on this chip is going to be on this van as well, but where, I'm not so sure. It's not going to be the bulk color of this van. It has a whole lot of real estate to have such strong color. I'm probably going to have a solid color going with it, so whether it's a matted out finish like gray or maybe a military green or something, I don't know. If it's just a white, who knows? The point is we're locking down the theme today. Other things we're going to be doing with this van that you're probably really going to like is we're going to incorporate a very large sliding sunroof. We found a company out of California that produces those, and it's going to fit this. So we're going to put in a sliding sunroof. Can't wait for that. And also we have to finish up doing some structural repairs on the roof. For the most part, this van is incredibly solid. There's really no rust anywhere else other than on the roof, which is unusual in its own way. We've got some dents, but they're not massive. This is good classic American steel, so it's fairly easy to fix. The rest of the other parts of this isn't really coming together yet. I don't know whether we're going to do split bumpers, which kind of has been done to death now, or if we're going to modify our own bumpers or go bumperless. I don't really know. The point is I can't get too far off track with this if I'm going to make the Viva Las Vegas 2015 schedule. Stay tuned. So for now, let's get ready to paint some wheels. I got the paint machine mixing. We're going to start spreading some color. Alright, so this is our Rescue Green that we're going to be painting those wheels in. And once it's mixed up, it has actually a stronger gold color to it than it does a green. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a tri-coat effect, which means I'm going to grab one of my pearls up here. These are all various pearls. And we're going to use what's called moss green. And so basically I'm going to shoot my foundation. If it doesn't flash in the right hue that I'm looking for, I'll just turn it into a tri-coat, and I'll just mix up a little bit of clear, throw this moss green in it, and just get that green effects that I want out of it, and then clear over the whole process. But because these are wheels, the more paint you add something, the less durable it is. So I need to be fairly calculated and well controlling on how much color and how much sealer and how much clear I put on there, because it's going to chip if I don't. But with that said, I am going to use an industrial level clear coat instead. It's Imron Clear. It's a DuPont product, though we're a Sikkens company. DuPont makes an excellent clear coat that's meant for industrial use. So these wheels, perfect example where to use them at. It's pretty strong stuff. Once it dries, it's rock hard. It takes a long time to dry. When it dries, you're not scratching it. Okay, I would imagine from your perspective this looks like a strong gold, but actually what this is more like is a gold with a lot of green in it. So what you saw in the process is I laid down the foundation, which is actually considered rescue green, although it looks very gold. It usually gets its shift in color once you put the clear on it. In this case, what I did is I used the rescue green per formula, and this is also going to be on the truck itself. I used the rescue green, then after that I went and put a couple of grams of moss green pearl in a clear coat or a mid coat, and I shot that over this. I put 2 coats on there. This could be very tricky because you're looking for it to change in effect, but if you keep applying the material on there, wait for that effect, you could easily milk it out. You have to trust the clear coat's going to bring out the effect that you want it to have. So there's 2 strong coats of the moss green pearl in a clear. And then after that, I put an additional clear over the top of it to preserve all that work. Now, the clear coat that I use is something that's somewhat difficult to get in most parts of the country. It is DuPont's Imron Industrial Clear. The reason I use it is because it takes a long time to dry, and because that duration of dry, it flows beautifully and levels out great. But you also need to know how to say when. If you're trying to chase the wet edge or effectively try and make it lay evenly, you're going to run it all over the place. You have to trust that the paint's going to flow. Imron Industrial Clear is not something I would recommend for anybody to use if you're not a reasonably good painter, because it will make you look like a fool. Anyhow, so we have the clear coat on top of all of this. Once this dries, and because I had to put an actual accelerant in it, this stuff would take weeks to dry if I didn't. I'm going to put an accelerant in it. It's Saturday. I'm going to leave these alone, come back Monday, they will be done. Take them out in the sunlight, assuming we have sun up here in the Northwest. You'll see a huge shift in colors. It'll go from this gold effect that you have now to a very strong green iridescent look. Basically like the eyes on a fly, or the back on a fly, if you will. Seeing this in a larger scale versus a paint chip is kind of inspired me to possibly revisit what we're going to do with the van itself. I do realize this color is not for everybody, but it is for me. And it's got that classic look to it that you would see back in the day when cars were going to the Oakland Road Show. They would just have these strong statement colors that weren't arrogant or too much in your face. This definitely has that feel to it. So I'm looking forward to getting these on the car and inspiring myself to what the rest of the car is going to look like.